I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, I'm delighted to welcome back one of our favorite guests to the show, Father Ronald Ramson. He has written numerous books about God and religion and spirituality, including Spiritual Hors d'oeuvres, and the book we're going to discuss today called Hosanna. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today on Spotlight, and we ask viewers like you to support writers like him by subscribing to our channel and, more importantly, purchasing this wonderful book. Father Ramson, thanks so much for being our guest today on Spotlight.
Oh, it's great to be with you.
Oh, the pleasure is all mine, sir. Let's give the folks at home the big picture. What is Hosanna all about?
Well, I have written a couple of books about Blessed Frederic Ozanam, who was he was the principal founder of the Society of St. Vincent de Paul. And he had a dream. He had a dream to embrace the whole world in a network of charity. Well, guess what? His dream, that society's in 153 countries of the world. His dream is almost like a reality. But my thing was with the book, Hosanna, was whatever happened to his wife and his daughter and his two brothers. No one ever writes about these people. I always like to write about something that's challenging and no one has touched before, you know? So I said, I started digging and digging and digging. And because Frederic died when he was 40 years old. His wife was young. And she could have gotten married, but she didn't because she was still madly in love with him. Madly in love with him. And the other part of the Hosanna book is part of his major beliefs, his major loves. His major loves, besides her, was the poor. And his mom and his dad was a doctor in Lyon, France. And they really taught him about the poor, you know, and his love for the poor. And then he went from Lyon to Paris to study law. And he and 6 others started the St. Vincent de Paul Society there. But Hosanna, I thought Hosanna was a good title for the book because he was French, but of Jewish descent. And so I wanted to use what would be, I'm always looking for a catchy title. As you might know from some of the other
Spiritual Hors d'oeuvres is this one's sketchy as well, that's for sure.
Yeah, I get people saying, "What? Say that again." And so anyway, but Hosanna means in the Hebrew, I think, please save or please or save now, I think. But it also can be a name, can be a proper name. So Hosanna, in some variation, it could have been actually his name in Hebrew.
Yeah.
And anyway, but that's a fascinating part of his life. We don't have time to talk about now, but
that's wonderful. When I hear the term Hosanna, I think of Jesus Christ Superstar, and there was that song was Hosanna, Hey Zana, Zana, Zana.
Yeah,
Hosanna.
right.
Yeah.
I remember. Yeah, you're right. And that's it. That's a good one, isn't it?
Absolutely. That is a great tune, actually. So what do you hope readers will take away from this book? What do you hope will inspire them about his story?
Well, I hope that they become fascinated with him, with Frederic Ozanam, and especially his love for the poor. And also his just more knowledge about the man. He's not a saint in the Catholic Church, but he's blessed. That's the step before sainthood. And I'd like if maybe people will find out more about his wife. You know, at the time when Frederick started the society of St. Vincent de Paul, no women were allowed to be in the society at that time. That's the way it was. And since, of course, it's changed. So his wife and his daughter got involved with other works of charity. I don't think they had any money, not very much money at all, because Frederick's whole livelihood came from his teaching at the Sorbonne in Paris. You know, he couldn't have been making too much money, I don't think.
Yeah.
You know, and then he had one daughter, Marie, and she also got involved with the charity. One thing is, I would hope that maybe somebody else would say, "Hey, I can do that. I can join the St. Vincent de Paul Society, or I can join this particular charity. I can help the people. I can help somebody who's pouring out. Look at what's going on in the world around us.
Yeah.
Right now. Look at all the homeless, you know, and the immigrants, and it just goes on and on and on, you know."
Yeah, it feels like we could be doing more. It feels like the subject of the poor really isn't addressed in today's society. Like everything else, it's just become a political football. One side, you know, advocating one thing, the other saying they're getting too much. And individuals helping, groups like St. Vincent de Paul Society are needed to change people's lives, to help people pull themselves up by their bootstraps, don't you think?
Oh yeah, I think so too. And it's amazing. I've been involved with the Society of St. Vincent de Paul since 1963. That's a long time.
That's a couple of years.
That's a couple of years. Can I tell you a quick story how I got involved?
Sure.
I got a call. I was down in Texas. My first assignment as a priest down in Texas. I'm a Vincentian priest. And so I'm down in Texas. I got a call that said, "Father Ramson, we'd like you to come and give us a talk on the life of St. Vincent de Paul and Mr. Frederic Ozanam." I go, "Who's Mr. Frederic Ozanam?" Because we never got anything in our formation on him. I didn't know anything about him. And to this day, I'm still trying to figure out, where did I find out anything about this guy? Anyway, it just kind of took off. So I've written 4 books about him. I don't know how many articles I've written about him, you know. But the thing is, you get back when I start finding out things about his wife, Logan, he had a love affair with his wife that I tell people men and women would die to have. He got married in June. On every day of the day he got married in June, every day until he died, including the time he died, he sent her flowers and sometimes wrote poems in French. I said, "How many guys do you know that send their wives every month on anniversary?" I said, I paused for reply.
Exactly. And there's nothing but crickets when you ask that question, rhetorically, of course. Well, it's a wonderful story. It's an inspirational story. And we're glad you've written about it because I think it'll inspire others to love more deeply on many levels, whether it's loving your stranger or loving your spouse. And these are all very Christ-like examples as well, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me, so we talked about spiritual hors d'oeuvres last time. Hosanna, you say, is very, very popular. You get requests for the books all the time. You have a third book as well, Father?
Well, yeah, I had a book on Mary, the mother of Jesus. And that's been doing very well. That's the one I wrote and came out right before Spiritual Hors d'oeuvres. Gotcha. And what I was trying to do there, may I talk about that for a minute?
Sure, absolutely.
I said, a lot of people have trouble with Mary mother of Jesus, because we put her up on a pedestal. And a lot of women have told me that in my counseling. They said, we can't identify with her.
Mm.
We put her on that pedestal. We can't do it. And so what I did on this book, I call it "Put Your Hands into Hers." That's the name of the book.
Mm.
And I said, what does she teach us in her apparitions, for example? Well, I see. This is where her humanity comes out and her femininity comes out.
Mm-hmm.
And women can identify with that,
Absolutely.
And I think, and she's not a goddess. She's not divine. She's not an angel. She's a fully human being.
Right.
Mary.
Right.
Okay.
And that's the same with Jesus also. He felt pain, he felt fear, he felt frustration. I mean, the fact that Mary and Jesus were humans and had human qualities and had human feelings and had human failings is what makes them so inspirational. If they were untouchable, if they were a god, I mean, it would be a different story. But Jesus came down here and suffered. I mean, when he was crucified, he was in pain. God the Father did not take him off the cross. And that's the part of the powerful story of Jesus Christ and the Blessed Mother as well, don't you think?
Yeah, well, it's like I said, she cooked for him. She did his laundry. Yeah. She cleaned the house. She fetched water at the well. She did all this stuff for 30 years. I said, what do you think they talked about at supper table? Soccer scores? I mean, or the weather reports? I mean, hello. Right. I mean, 30 years. I mean, I said, whatever you read in the New Testament, she must have heard all that, knew all that before he said any of it. Plus stuff we will never tell. Exactly. For 30 years.
Exactly.
And so people said, "Oh wow, I never thought about that before."
Well, now they're thinking about it, fortunately, because of your book on the Blessed Mother, and they'll be thinking about your book Hosanna as well as the book Spiritual Hors d'oeuvres, all wonderful books that will inspire you, that'll help you along your spiritual journey. They're written by Father Ronald Ramson, and they are delightful reads, that is for sure. Father, before we leave you here today, feels like the holidays are right around the corner, so I'll wish you a Merry Christmas and ask you if there's anything you'd like to say to our audience before we leave today.
No, I think let's keep praying for peace.
Yeah.
Let's pray for peace over in Israel.
Yeah.
And the stop of this war in the Ukraine, and I have a theory that there's a very famous icon of Mary over in Ukraine and also in Russia, and I think if Mary's going to do anything for her through her intercession, I think she's going to start working towards stopping this craziness.
I know. Insanity.
Amazing.
Yeah, it is. Father, thank you so much for joining us here today on Spotlight.
Oh, Logan, it's great to be with you again.
It's such a pleasure, such a pleasure. Always a great feeling when I'm talking to you, sir. And to the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time. Until next time on Spotlight.